So today's topic is the power of a made-up mind, y'all. Whew, when God hit me with this, it wasn't something that, you know how it's like you know something, but it's like you really don't like know the depth of the importance of that thing that you know until somebody kind of like bring it to your attention. That's how it was for me. I am at my kiddo track meet right now, so you might hear some stuff in the background, but that's what it was for me. So I got the honor, the privilege to be on a panel at our Mother's Day brunch that my church had, and we were discussing about womanhood and motherhood. And the theme was blooming, and so we were talking about the different stages, and so we got to kind of like the growth stage. And one of the questions that the moderator asked was, what's one of the seed that you need to help you grow? Right? And so I didn't get a chance to answer that question, but while I was driving home, I was thinking about it, and the Lord started to bring back to memory a time that I made up my mind and how powerful a made up mind is. And I was like, you need a made up mind. That is one of the seed that you need in the growth stage to help you grow, help you achieve whatever it is you're working towards, is a made up mind. And it really made me understand why, and a part of the reason why God tells us all the time, like, don't doubt, believe, don't doubt, believe, don't be double-minded, right? Y'all. So he took me back to, what was it? Senior year of my last year of undergrad. I had graduated in May, and in June or July, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. And my husband and I, at the time, we weren't married, and our relationship, it was a hot mess. It's like we had no business being together at that time. It was just a hot mess, right? And so financially, he wasn't even in the right space financially to be able to provide for another child, because at the time he had other kids. And because it wasn't even a whole year since he'd been home from prison. It was not even a whole year since he'd been home from prison. And so I was in the space of, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to provide for this child? And in a moment of me not knowing what to do, praying, being confused, being scared, afraid, like, how am I going to provide for this child? I made up my mind that I was going to have my daughter, and no matter what, I was going to provide for her. I was going to take care of her. And when I made that decision, with the thought in mind of me being a single mother. Like, I wasn't depending on her father when that decision that I made. It wasn't, oh, I'm going to have this child and then he's going to help me take care of it. No. When I made that decision, it was, I am going to provide for my child and I'm going to take care of her, regardless whether dad, wants to do anything or not. And I was not going to stress myself, fighting for him to be in his child life and all of those things. Not to say that women who does that, there's anything wrong. That was just me. It was that moment where I made up my mind. And I didn't have a job. I had just graduated. And so never had a child before. Didn't even know what I was going to do. But I made up my mind in that moment. And what God revealed to me, that after I made up my mind in that moment, every decision that I made afterwards, it flowed from that time when I made up my mind. Because it was no turning back for me. It was no other options for me. She was gonna have a good life, right? She was gonna be provided for. Her needs were gonna be met. I wasn't gonna be able to give her, like all of the fancy stuff, but her needs were gonna be met. And so every decision that I made afterwards in my life stemmed from that moment when I made up my mind. And I didn't even realize it until Saturday when God brought that to my attention. And so I went from a young woman being afraid, about to step into motherhood, no job, not knowing what to do, to getting a job when my daughter was 6 months old, to working my way up from being the assistant to, they were about to promote me to the to the manager of a salon. And that was when I decided to move to Arizona from New Jersey, because my sister was moving and I didn't like the neighborhood or community that I was living in. And so I wanted better for my daughter. And so I took that as an opportunity. So I didn't move to Arizona. And while in Arizona, I got a job working in group homes. And then I went back to school online to get my master. And that was a struggle, y'all. It was a struggle. The mental attacks that I went through, the limited mindset, which was crazy because I always did well in school, right? But I felt like I couldn't go for my master's. And even when I found out that I was pregnant, I was discouraged because I had went to like a session, an information session to learn more about the master program at the university that I graduated from. And the information, like the list of things that they said you needed in order to graduate, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this with a child. So anyway, fast forward to Arizona, from working at group homes, starting my master program online to switching to in person. I started my master program in person. I still working at group homes. And the thing is, it wasn't easy, but because I had made up my mind, I had a made up mind on a goal that I was going to achieve, which was going to give my daughter a better life, right? So every choice that I made derived from there. Even when obstacle came in my way, right? It didn't shake me, or it didn't make me waver from what it is I was going to achieve. So I went ahead and I was focused on working and providing for my daughter. Things were still not good between her father and myself, and he helped out when he could. His situation was starting to improve and all of those things, but we now live across country from one another. He was still in New Jersey, I was in Arizona, so majority of the responsibility of caring for her was on me. Now I was blessed enough to have my sister who helped me. Her support made an immense difference in our lives, and I appreciate that for life, right? And so shift to me going to school in person, there was time where I had to change my work schedule, because I will go to school during the day, morning time, I drop her off to daycare, I go to school, and then after school I'll go to work. But there are times where I had to shift my work schedule, and now I had to go to school during the day, I had to work at night, y'all. It was hard. I started with me completing one master program. I ended up doing 2 master's program. And I ended up completing those 2 master's programs in 2 years' time. Why? Because I took classes during the summer, because I didn't have time to waste. I didn't have time to sit around. I had made up my mind that I was going to provide a better life for my daughter. And so all of my priorities was in alignment with that made up mind. That's what a made up mind does for you. The power of a made up mind. Once you made up your mind and you standing 10 toes deep on whatever goal it is that God is calling you to achieve, right? Everything that you do would come into alignment. Now, it's not going to be magic. There's going to be struggle in the beginning if you're not disciplined in certain areas, right? But because you have that made up mind, it's going to force you to get disciplined, to get in alignment with what you have made up your mind for, so that you can achieve the goal that you are working towards. All right. You cannot do it if you don't have a made up mind, which is why many of us, and I'm guilty of it too, we start and stop stuff. We have this passion, this desire. We're excited about something. We start it, and then the interest kind of fade away, or obstacle come, and then we put it at the wayside. That is because we don't have a made up mind. That is because we have different choices and options that, if this don't work, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, but at the slightest discomfort, right? At the slightest disruption of our regular schedule, we drop it and we let it go. And then we wonder, like, why am I stuck? You are stuck. Part of it is because you don't have a made up mind. So I'm here to encourage you today that if you are ready to get unstuck, if you are ready to walk into what God has called you to walk into, you are ready to experience the more abundance that your Father came in this world for you to have, right? If you're not sitting and waiting for you to get to heaven to enjoy what your father died for you for, and you're ready to have it here on earth, like he said, then it's time for you to make up your mind. It's time for you to make up your mind. There's no more wavering. There's no more going back and forth. I'm telling you, a made up mind, when I made up my mind, my relationship with God, has been improving over the years. I wasn't always here where I am now. I'm a little bit deeper in my walk with Christ than I was back then. But that made up mind also pushed me closer to God. It pushed me to seek his face more for direction, because when I made up my mind that I was going to do this thing, I knew that I could not do it on my own. I knew that I could not do it on my own. And it made me to seek his face more for guidance, for him to direct my path. It made me to, the Holy Spirit convicted me. I have bought so many other things before, textbooks for school and all of these other things, right? Never once did I buy a Bible. That made up mind allowed the Holy Spirit to convict me, saying, hey, you spend your money on all of these things, but you don't even have a Bible of your own. And I went and I got myself a Bible. And so I just want to encourage you. This message actually goes, like I said, with my message for the ladies on my email list. And so if you're not on that list, join us every Monday so you can get something that's going to help push you into your more. And so I want to encourage you that go before God, and whatever it is that he's telling you, no matter how unattainable it may seem, make up your mind this day that, Lord, I trust you. And that if you show me this thing, if you said this thing, I know it's going to happen. I may not know how, but I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to do everything that I can to work towards that goal. I'm not going to give up. Even when things don't go as planned, when I fall, I'm going to wipe myself up and I'm going to keep going. When you make up your mind, your life will change. And so I want to leave you with this assignment. Look back on your life of a decision that you made up your mind on. It doesn't matter whether that decision was a good decision or a bad decision, right? Reflect back on it and see how you worked towards that thing and how you overcame every obstacle so that that thing could come to pass because you made up your mind. Forget about it if you look back and it's like, I never should have worked towards that. That wasn't a wise. I want for you to pay attention to the tenacity that you had, the motivation that you had to work towards that thing, right? And then now think about whatever it is that God is calling you into right now, and decide to apply that same thing to that situation. I was just listening to wrap this up, to a message. That's what I do when I'm driving. I'm listening to sermon. And one of the things that the pastor was saying is that the Holy Spirit steps in when we come to our end. Right? And so oftentimes when we come to the place where we made up our mind, it's a place where we have come to the end of ourselves, where we're like, God, I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know how it's going to happen. I've tried before X, Y, and Z, and it didn't work. But I'm making up my mind to trust you. I've decided I'm going to trust you, that I'm in this thing 10 toes deep, no matter what. But I need your help. I need you to do this thing with me, because I cannot do it with myself. And the Holy Spirit will help you. The Holy Spirit will help you. In addition to making up your mind, surround yourself with people who are going to support you in that direction. Like-minded people, not people who are doing the opposite. Because once you get discouraged, if they're doing the opposite, they're going to try to pull you into whatever it is. So join my email list so you can join a community of people. The link is going to be in the description box. Click it and join us if you're looking for a community of women who are working towards the things that God is calling them to, that can support you, that can pray for you, that can cry with you if you need be, that can even hold your hand at times. Okay, you do not have to do this thing alone, sis. Come and join us. I love you. Have a blessed day. Let me go to my kid track meet.